Hello everyone, I'm Ruby Larkspur. Welcome to the garden, and welcome to the Sunlit Blossoms PODFIC. If you're listening on my Patreon, I thank you for your pledges. And if you are listening on my YouTube channel or my Tumblr blog, then I appreciate the support. If you want early access to this PODFIC, I'll be posting a new chapter every month on my Patreon, with full public access coming later in the month. And as always, I do not own Demon Slayer, nor do I own its characters. All the rights go to Koyoharu Gotoge and Ufotable as the mangaka and animation studio, respectively. With that, let's get started. Sunlit Blossoms, Chapter 3, Cruelty, Part 3. After the struggle against Rengoku, Nezuko is given an opportunity she can't refuse. A chance to save the last of her family. What other choice is there? When Nezuko woke up, she immediately spotted Tanjiro's Haori and grasped it tightly as she checked him for any new injuries. What did that guy put in his mouth? Nezuko thought when she noticed the piece of bamboo covering her brother's mouth. Is this a muzzle? Your brother is fine. His injury is healed with no complications, the man spoke up, causing Nezuko to whip around and find him standing in front of a nearby tree. Not wanting to take chances, Nezuko crouched over Tanjiro. If this guy wanted to hurt her brother, he had to go through her first. Not that it would be particularly hard, but she would still put up a fight. I assure you, I will not harm him, so long as he does not harm any humans. What? Nezuko asked. That was unexpected, considering he tried to decapitate Tanjiro repeatedly before the man even knocked Nezuko out. You mentioned seeking out the demon who attacked your family, and perhaps seeking a cure for your brother? Nezuko nodded, unsure where this was going. Then I will take you as my student. I will train you to become a demon slayer so that you may have a better chance at success, he declared. We will have to find shelter to keep your brother away from sunlight. It is lethal to demons. He will be fine for now, but with the cloud coverage, but it won't last forever. Why are you suddenly fine with Tanjiro staying alive? Nezuko demanded, not taking her eyes off the man, no matter how much she wanted to make sure Tanjiro was okay after the last few minutes. And what the hell is with the muzzle? I chose to spare your brother because he protected you after I knocked you unconscious. Despite the fact he must be starving, he didn't even seem to consider eating you. He only attacked me after I knocked you unconscious, the man told her. How he kept smiling, she had no clue. Had he even blinked this whole time? As for the muzzle, it is a precaution. If he does lose control, that will at least slow him down. Do not remove it, he added. Nezuko glared at him, upset that her big brother was being treated as little more than a wild animal. But she obviously had little choice in the matter. Now, we must make preparations. It is a few days' journey to my estate. Before we go, Nezuko exclaimed, getting the man's attention. Can we at least bury my family? Please? I don't want the bodies to get eaten or rot. Of course, the man replied. Thank you, Nezuko whispered before she turned to Tanjiro, helping him up as he regained consciousness. Are you okay, Tanjiro? Mm-hmm. Tanjiro hummed in reply. Nezuko sighed in relief, hugging her brother. When she leaned back, she couldn't help but notice that Tanjiro's gaze seemed distant, like his mind wasn't all there anymore. The idea saddened Nezuko, but she decided to worry about that later. For now, they had work to do. Come on, Nezuko said as she guided Tanjiro to his feet before the siblings made their way back to what remained of their home. Nezuko led the way, keeping Tanjiro's hand in hers the whole time while the flame-like man followed behind them. The fact her brother didn't seem to be fully aware made her worried, especially when he occasionally stumbled on the rocks. Ah, where are my manners? I forgot to introduce myself, the man exclaimed after a moment. My name is Rengoku Kyojuro, Flame Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corps. Despite our rocky start, it is a pleasure to meet you both. Kamado Nezuko, and Tanjiro's my older brother, Nezuko replied, gesturing to said brother. I also wish to apologize for stabbing your brother and knocking you unconscious, Rengoku declared. I will admit, your plan was clever, and your leg strength is certainly admirable, as are your reflexes. We will be increasing your skills in both while you train. Thank you, Nezuko muttered as they came to the door. What was left of it anyways? Nezuko immediately grabbed a shovel to start digging after letting go of Tanjiro's hand. It would be difficult, and probably take a while since the ground was frozen, but it would be worth it if it meant her family could at least rest somewhat peacefully. She doubted they would truly be at peace until their murderer was gone from this world. While Nezuko was digging, Tanjiro turned to the house. The sight and smell of the blood made him hungry, but he forced down the urge to eat as he walked up to his youngest brother. He couldn't remember the names of his family except for Nezuko, much to his chagrin. Whatever happened to him had made most of his memories foggy, though Nezuko's presence had managed to help a few of them clear up enough for him to force back the hunger. He knew the bodies on the ground were his family, and that they needed to be buried. So, forcing himself not to salivate at the sight of all the blood and dead bodies, he picked up his youngest brother, carefully carrying him to where Nezuko was still digging. Once the little one had been set down, Tanjiro turned around and went back to the house to retrieve the rest of their family's bodies. Kyojuro would admit the Kamado boy was full of surprises. He kept careful watch over the boy, especially when he noticed the demon's gaze on the child's corpse just inside the house. There was an indentation in the blood-stained snow. Kyojuro could only guess that was where Nezuko had found her elder brother. The demon boy began to walk to the corpse, and Kyojuro reached for his sword. Before he could unsheath his weapon, though, Tanjiro knelt by the child and placed a hand on their head, just as he had when Nezuko was unconscious. He then picked up the child with surprising gentleness, carrying it to where his sister was digging graves. Kyojuro was even more surprised to see the sadness in the demon's eyes. He didn't think the creatures were capable of such human feelings. "May I be of assistance?" he asked, his voice softer than his usual tone. Nezuko perked up and turned to him. She looked around while Tanjiro emerged from the house with another child in his arms. He only turned to her and tilted his head, as she turned back to Kyojuro. "I could use some help digging the rest of the graves. The ground's frozen, so I won't mind the help." "Very well. Do you have a second shovel?" Kyojuro replied. Once Nezuko helped him find another shovel, he was quick to start digging another grave beside her. "I made one already. I'm working on the second one. After you finish the one you're working on, we'll need 2 more. One needs to be big enough for an adult. For our mom," Nezuko informed him. Kyojuro didn't miss how the first grave was quite small, likely for the youngest. It was going to be easier to make smaller graves for the children, of course, due to the frozen ground. Kyojuro nodded and began digging, glancing at the third child Tanjiro brought out. A young girl, not much different in size to the second boy. Once the graves were dug out, Nezuko turned to her family. She had to clean the blood off before burying them. It would be disrespectful to leave them in their current condition. So she melted some snow into a bucket, grabbed the cloth, and knelt next to Rokita. She really hoped the injuries weren't too brutal, so she could try and keep her mind off the fact that almost her entire family was dead. She had been prepared for the loss of her father. The family had been expecting his death for a while before it actually happened due to his illness. Not like her mother and siblings. She doubted anyone could have predicted a demon coming in and slaughtering her family in the dead of night. She didn't doubt that, had Tanjiro not been turned into a demon, he would be dead too. Both a blessing and a curse, Nezuko thought before she began cleaning up the blood on Rokita. While Nezuko started cleaning the blood, Tanjiro let his mind wander. He wanted to piece together his memories, maybe figure out what happened. It didn't last long before he picked up on a new scent that was slowly getting more and more intense. He turned to Nezuko, somehow knowing the scent was coming from her. She was muttering something he couldn't understand, but her scent made her feelings clear. She was angry, but also afraid. Fear didn't belong in his sister's scent, neither did anger of this intensity. Maybe the monster that attacked their family was still nearby. If it was, he had to find it and keep it away from Nezuko. Kyojuro was searching the area for any sign of another demon being nearby when he heard her growling. He whipped around to see Tanjiro turning his gaze every which way, pupils slit and veins bulging ever so slightly while his nose twitched. But his gaze never landed on Nezuko or the corpses she was cleaning. What has him so aggravated? Kyojuro wondered. "No bite marks," Nezuko muttered as she kept wiping away blood. Kyojuro could see how tight her grip on the cloth was, and he turned to the clean bodies. True to her word, there were only lacerations and stab wounds, none of which had the same pattern or depth as what was left by Demon's teeth. And no chunks of flesh were missing either. A demon killing for sport. The most despicable kills by demons are the ones for fun, Kyojuro thought, his smile starting to fall. Of course that didn't surprise him. Most of the 12 Kizuki tended to kill for sport as well as food. Kibusuju was likely no different. But this level of carnage... Could this have been a personal attack? "I can't believe this!" Nezuko exclaimed. "All the stories say demons eat humans, but there's no sign that this demon ate anyone!" she added. Tanjiro turned around and placed a hand on her head, sliding it over her hair and clearly trying to hum something behind his muzzle. It wasn't exactly on key, but whatever Tanjiro was humming seemed to calm Nezuko down slightly. Her angry glare at the uneaten corpses turned sorrowful, and she started sniffling. She can't be much older than Senjuro, and she's already being faced with such a tragedy, Kyojuro thought as the two siblings embraced. I can't say I have first-hand experience with tragedy at the hands of demons, but I know what it's like to lose a parent. The flame Hachiro stood up and approached the children. He knelt in the snow beside them, placing a gentle hand on Nezuko's shoulder. Whatever dam was holding Nezuko's tears back broke, and the poor girl began weeping uncontrollably into her brother's shoulder. "We're the last of our family, Tanjiro," Nezuko whispered through her sobs. "We're all we have left, so please hold on. Please, big brother, hold on to what humanity you still have. Keep hold of it with all your strength until I find a cure." Tanjiro only responded by continuing his off-key humming and tightening his embrace. Nezuko was thankful she still had her big brother, at least. She wasn't sure what she would do if she lost him, too. I will leave you to finish cleaning and burying the bodies. Then you may give any final prayers you wish to offer your family, Rengoku told her before stepping away from Nezuko and Tanjiro. Nezuko turned back to cleaning, wiping the blood away from everyone's bodies and closing any open eyes before carefully placing them in the ground. Once that was done, she filled the graves with dirt before clasping her hands and lowering her head in prayer. Take care of your brother, Nezuko. Her mother's voice whispered. I promise, Nezuko whispered. I will defeat the demon that did this. I will find a cure for Tanjiro, she added. Say hi to Dad for us, okay? She finished before standing up and turning to Tanjiro. He was staring silently at the new graves, and tears were welling up in his eyes. But aside from that, his expression showed nothing of what may be going through his mind. We should get you cleaned up. You still have a lot of blood on you, Nezuko muttered, guiding Tanjiro into the house. It took some maneuvering, mostly because Tanjiro was too out of it to actually move without help, but Nezuko managed to get him into the bath. Is there any way I can be of assistance? Rengoku spoke up while Nezuko was scrubbing the dried blood out of Tanjiro's hair. Nope, I've done this before with my little siblings. It's nothing new, Nezuko mumbled, trying not to think too much about everything. The 5 new grays outside, 4 of which were her younger siblings, her remaining brother barely functional and not even reacting to the world around him. Washing the little ones was nothing new, but Tanjiro's silence and lack of movement reminded her that their lives were permanently altered. She scooped up some water in the nearby bucket and dumped it over Tanjiro to wash away the soap, being careful so none of the suds would land in his eyes. He's so blank now, Nezuko muttered. Is he going to be like this forever, until he's human again? She asked Rengoku. I cannot say for sure, the Demon Slayer admitted. Our focus as Demon Slayers is killing demons, not researching them. If I had to guess, I would say his condition is because he has not eaten anything. He has not gained any energy or nutrients, which is especially important to newborn demons, he added. If he does begin to mentally develop, it will likely be a long and slow process, like any human child, most likely. Okay, Nezuko whispered shakily. Please don't let this be forever, she silently pleaded, unsure if any of the gods would hear her, much less answer her prayers. Once Tanjiro had been thoroughly scrubbed clean, Nezuko helped him get back on his feet and dressed. They were ready to leave. We should seek shelter until nightfall. It looks like there will be a break in the weather, Rengoku spoke up once they were almost at the base of the mountain. Nezuko could tell the same. There aren't any caves close enough for us to get to them before the sun comes out, she replied, trying to think of a solution. One came to her, but it was risky. Our neighbor is close enough, but he knows about demons. I'm not sure how he'll react to... She gestured to Tanjiro. With how serious Saburo had gotten last night about demons, he was bound to react poorly to one showing up on his doorstep. Even Tanjiro, who Saburo knew well, would likely elicit a negative reaction. But I guess it's our only option if we want to get Tanjiro out of the sun. Lead the way, Rengoku declared. Nezuko nodded, then began a brisk walk down the path. It wasn't long until the 3 of them were at Saburo's front door. Nezuko ushered Tanjiro behind her, then knocked on the door. It opened, and Saburo seemed to quite quickly realize what Rengoku was. Saburo, I swear I can explain, but we need to settle down here until nightfall, Nezuko told him. She stepped slightly to the side, allowing the man to see what happened to Tanjiro. Saburo visibly tensed, but still opened the door. Tell me everything, he said once they were all seated. Nezuko, Rengoku, and Saburo each had a cup of tea, and Tanjiro was leaning against Nezuko. His gaze was still so blank. When I was almost home, I smelled blood. I panicked because I always heard Tanjiro say the moment happiness is destroyed is always followed by the scent of blood, Nezuko said. She told Saburo everything she could, ending where Rengoku knocked her out. What changed? Saburo asked. Something changed, and it's the only reason you're not injured or dead with the rest of your family. There's no other reason that a demon slayer would spare a demon, he nodded to Rengoku, who straightened up and possibly further than before. I don't know exactly what happened. I was freaking out. I knew I was seconds away from being eaten. I just begged Tanjiro to snap out of it, Nezuko admitted, turning to where Tanjiro was resting his head on her shoulder. He started crying, and he backed off. Then Rengoku showed up. Apparently after he knocked me out when I tried to save Tanjiro, Tanjiro got protective. If the boy was acting territorial over food, he would have eaten you once you were vulnerable, Rengoku piped up, disturbingly cheerful for such a morbid statement. He's right, Nezuko, Saburo sighed, turning to Tanjiro. But if anyone's going to reject the demon's need to eat human flesh, it will be someone from your family. Especially Tanjiro, with how selfless he always is. I'm glad he did, Nezuko chuckled mirthlessly. I'm going to become a demon slayer. Then I'll find a cure and make Tanjiro human again. Then I guess you'll be away for a good while, Saburo muttered. Nezuko nodded. Good luck, then. Thank you, Nezuko replied. Could you... I'll tell the townsfolk you won't be here to deliver charcoal for a while. I'll figure out what to tell them. Saburo told her. Thank you, Nezuko sighed. And thank you for letting us stay here. I know having a demon in your home must be difficult for you. I'm all right with this one, Saburo assured her with a faint smile. Come back alive, both of you, okay? Nezuko nodded again. We'll do our best to do that, she replied. As the sun set, Rengoku led the siblings out of the house. The last living members of the Kamado family followed him through the night. Nezuko was unsure of what challenges she was going to face, but she promised herself to do whatever it took to return Tanjiro to normal. Thank you for tuning in to this month's chapter of the Sunlit Blossoms PODFIC. If you enjoyed and want early access to this PODFIC, then you could become a member on my Patreon. Any and all support would be greatly appreciated. With that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Thank you for listening, and farewell!